Hi everyone, welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And before I move ahead, let me read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. All right, after this important disclaimer, welcome back everyone to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And today we have an absolute treat for you. Joining us is the incredible immigration attorney Ralph Antonioli, and we are diving into a topic that can be a game changer for many. We will be discussing about mastering the O-1 visa, a comprehensive approach to securing success for extraordinary achievers. Now, before we jump in, let's take a moment to appreciate the remarkable journey of our guest. Ralph Antonioli is not just any immigration attorney. He is a veteran with nearly 30 years of experience, specializing in business immigration, sports law, and innovative immigration solutions. As the founder of Antonioli and Associates, a respected firm based in Washington, D.C., Ralph has built a reputation for crafting legal strategies that are tailored as they are effective, meeting even the most complex regulatory requirements with ease. His expertise in O-1 visas and other employment based categories is nothing sort of phenomenal. With an impressive 99.9% approval rate, a clear testament to his strategic and meticulous approach. But Ralph's story is so much more than just his professional achievements. His journey as an immigrant to the United States has given him a unique perspective and a deep commitment to helping others navigate the often complex and daunting immigration process. He's worked with firms of all sizes, from small startups to giants like Sidley Austin, one of the most prominent firms in the world, where he honed his skills and gained invaluable insights into the global immigration systems. Now, here's where Ralph's story takes a truly inspiring turn. In 2010, his life changed dramatically when he suffered from the rupture of three brain aneurysms, followed by 6 weeks in a coma and a battle against multiple life-threatening conditions. Given less than 1% chance of survival and told he would never walk, talk, or practice law again, Ralph defied every odd. He relearned how to walk, how to talk, and with unwavering perseverance, he passed the bar exam in Washington, D.C., an achievement his doctors thought was impossible. This near death experience profoundly shaped Ralph's priorities, inspiring a lifelong dedication to disability rights for advocacy within the legal profession. He's committed to increasing representation for disabled professionals, a group he passionately advocates for through the American Bar Association's Commission on Disability Rights, fluent in 5 languages and holding 3 nationalities. Ralph brings a global perspective and cultural sensitivity to every case. As an immigrant and as an attorney, he understands the challenges his clients face and is passionate about helping them achieve their dreams. Today, Ralph will share his invaluable insights on how creativity, meticulous case preparation, and thorough regulatory analysis can unlock opportunities through O-1 visas. He'll guide us on how these visas can help extraordinary achievers from all fields access the US market and pursue their professional and personal ambitions. So now, without any further ado, let's welcome Ralph on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Hi, Ralph. Welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. It's such an honor having you on the platform. Thank you so much, firstly, for sharing that beautiful bio and beautiful journey of yours with us so that, I can read it out to our audiences. Thank you so much for that. And yes, welcome. And how are you?
Thank you so much, Rajni. I appreciate that introduction, and I'm really happy to be here. Try to hopefully navigate something that may be intimidating for some, but my job is to for your audience to learn that this type of visa is not just for the superstars. It could be for anybody. I hope your audience can take advantage of this um, and yes, and learn how to put together a good O-1 petition that may otherwise they think they may not qualify for. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for gracing our platform, Ralph. It's an honor having you on our show, like I said. And yes, and today we are going to talk about, mastering the O-1 visas. So, Ralph, in your introduction, I told our audiences that you hold three nationalities, right? But you know in and out about US immigration, and you have helped the audiences with 99% of, that's the success rate that you have had, right? So I would like to know from you. I mean, you must be very much familiar with the US politics because you handle US immigration and you're an expert in that. So, Ralph, I would like to know from you that recently President Trump he got elected, and he's going to be in the office for his second term with his administration, which is under a lot of controversies these days. So, as an attorney, what are your views, and where do you stand? I mean, do you think it is going to be good for the immigrants? Because these days, the immigrants have a lot to think about, to talk about. There's a lot of chaos also going on, not just in the illegal immigrants' mind, but also on the legal immigrants' minds. So, as an attorney, what would you like to say?
Well, yes, I was going to raise this, I'll call it the elephant in the room, but I guess we're going to talk this head on. So, yes, President Trump was elected for a second term. Um, there is a lot of noise out there about what's going to happen and what's not. My job as an immigration attorney is to reassure people that you know any particular case requires, at the end of the day, that you meet what the statute says. Sure, are there going to be changes? Probably. Are things going to get more difficult to get approval? Possibly, but again, what I want your audience to understand is that although change is probably going to happen, this is not going to happen overnight. It takes time for a particular policy to be changed, and even more importantly, for the law to change. That requires uh, congressional action. Just because uh, candidate Trump was promising this and that, that's a lot of it is rhetoric. And I'm going to start by saying that this is also a point where having good legal advice is critical. Um, like I said, at the end of the day, you have to prove what the regulations say. I was going to discuss this later in our conversation, but since you brought it up, I recently participated in a meeting with uh, people from USCIS and the Department of State, and they spoke about what was like under Trump 1.0. His first, and they said that it was challenging, and I want your audience to understand that you have to be realistic. That it's probably going to be tougher, but that only emphasizes the need to have good lawyer with you. Um, for example, just to give your audience an example, the one of the things that, well, at least in the first term of President Trump, and I don't see why this is not going to happen again. They had this approach called Buy American, Hire American,
Yeah.
and that plays a big part in the visa process, because I'm going to give you an example of what someone who used to work for a U.S. consulate told us yesterday. He basically said that they're really looking with a fine tooth comb on, can an American do this? You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to be um, very meticulous, very careful in how you prepare your cases. And as you alluded to earlier, this has always been, regardless of who's the president, this has always been my approach. And that's why we've been extremely successful in approving cases. At the same time, on the other side of the coin, you have um, President Trump saying that he's willing to give everyone who's got a STEM degree from a U.S. university a green card right away. Again, I mean, that would be great, but I mean, whether that's actually going to happen, we're going to have to wait and see. The, my recommendation for everyone will be, and what I tell my every client is, whatever you see or whatever you read, don't believe it. Reach out to me first, and
Absolutely.
because 9 out of 10, the person who's writing knows nothing about immigration law, and they just write whatever they think they understand, and more often than not, unfortunately, that creates more panic than anything else. So what I always tell people is, uh, before you believe anything you read, shoot me an email or give me a call, and we'll discuss it. So yes, this is a real, I don't want to call it concern, because to me it's not a concern. I'm here
Mhm.
to help my clients and to make sure I work to the best of my abilities to give them everything I've got.
Mhm.
What I always tell people when I meet with them is like, unfortunately, I can't guarantee a result because that's outside of my hands. But what I
Mhm.
can guarantee you is that I'm going to give everything I got to get your case approved. So, um, yeah. So I mean, what's happening after January 20th, when
Yeah.
President Trump takes the oath of office again. Um, it's hard to know, but I don't really like to speculate. But I think we have to be ready for everything. Like I told some colleagues yesterday, we know what the minimum they're going to do because they did it in their first term.
Mhm.
Um, and that shouldn't scare us because we're also ready because we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So um, I just want to stress the need to, have competent lawyer with you.
Mhm.
Talk to a lawyer. I was gonna talk about this in the O-1, and since we go in, like I said at the beginning, the O-1 category is not just for superstars. The O-1
Mhm.
category is for, you know, um, all you would. I mean, you would need is a good story, and
Yeah.
to put together your good story, you will need a good lawyer. So um, the O-1 category is a category that is heavily on the criterias. We're going to talk about those probably a little bit,
Mhm.
well, later. But yeah, the O-1 category is defined in the statute, and that's exactly what USCIS has to follow. They can't go outside of what the law says. So that's why it's critical to have good representation, and because I've seen people try to do them themselves, and that's just not a good idea. I mean, especially not with what's coming in the new administration and everything. It's critical to have someone to sort of work with you on this journey. So
No, absolutely. I think, especially around this time, you should be under some guidance, somebody who can help you with your cases, because the scrutiny is definitely going to be stricter, and things are going to be definitely strict. Because first, we have heard that from a lot of attorneys that it was not exactly a very good time, especially for the immigrants. But Ralph, also, if we talk about this Trump 2.0, or this administration that he has right now, there are a lot of immigrants under in his team. And let me just start with his wife. His wife, Melania, she herself is an immigrant, right? And then if I talk about Elon Musk, Elon is an immigrant. And then Vivek Ramaswamy, he's an Indian American. So we can call, I mean, he is an Indian American, but he definitely has those immigrant. I mean, his parents are immigrants. So there are a lot of in his administration itself. There are a lot of immigrants. So do you think that that is going to be favorable for the immigrants? Because if we listen to Trump and his speeches, he mostly talks about, um, you know going against illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants is what he says, right? So, but do you think it is also going to affect the legal immigrants?
That is an excellent point, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think so. The fact, for example, I mean, Elon Musk, he is, I mean, don't quote me, although this is live, but I think he's going to be the president. So, uh,
But he wasn't
uh,
born in America, right? I think he was born in Africa, if I'm not wrong.
well,
So I don't know. He's
he's
eligible.
from South Africa, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I'm glad you brought that up because certainly I don't think realistically, but again, you should not take this as you should take this with a grain of salt,
Mm,
meaning I don't think it's smart for them to go after business immigration
mm-hmm,
because, yes, for example, Elon Musk depends a lot on H-1Bs, for example. So I don't think, I mean, if they go after legal immigration or business immigration, I think they're going to be shooting themselves in the foot.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't necessarily think the fact that Trump's married to someone from another country plays
yeah.
anything because I don't think, that's a different conversation for another talk for another session maybe.
I understand.
But no, but I think the fact that um, he had someone in his administration, is Stephen Miller, who's going to be the guy putting together policy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be brutally honest. I mean, if it was up to him, he was going to deport everybody. But I don't think that's realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you said in your question, and I think this is what people need to take into advantage. I'm sorry, into consideration, is the fact that the political points are, like you said, is with people who are here illegally. Um,
Right.
I don't like to use the word illegal, but um, it's someone who doesn't have that is a very big word because when people say the word illegal, and again I don't like to use that word, they're
Mm-hmm.
usually referring to people who cross the border without a visa.
Yeah.
But you also have to take in consideration that there are a lot of people who came in on a visa and they overstayed. So that's it's again, like I said in response to your previous question, I don't think you have to step back a little bit um, and look at this realistically. Okay, they're saying there is about 20 million uh, people without legal status in the United States. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how are you going to do that overnight? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
logistically, it's impossible. I mean, and I don't know if there are any Trump supporters in this call. I hope not, but if they are, um, they have been known to be very undisciplined. So, um, I mean, who knows? Maybe for this second time around, they're more organized. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think um, business immigration, I can't say for certain it's safe. It's
Mm-hmm.
probably there's probably gonna be more RFEs. There's
Yeah.
probably gonna more, you're gonna have to present more evidence. You're gonna have to be more detailed. But I don't think it's a good idea for them to mess with business immigration because, um, they're sort of advocating for people to follow the law. And I think business immigration is exactly that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, and the fact that the reason I brought up this guy is Stephen Miller is because he's probably very aggressive, but like you said, he's going to have Elon Musk in there. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of Vivek, right? Vivek?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are probably going to be like, look, I believe he's in IT too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He has been an entrepreneur. Yeah. That's right.
So, I mean, the business immigration is how the United States stays competitive. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you're going to, start implementing things that turn talented people away, then I don't think that's a very smart idea, because people are just going to be looking to other countries.
No, absolutely.
And it's like, but again, it's going to be like a balancing act,
You know.
On the
Mhm.
one side, they're going to be like buy American, hire American, but on the other side, it's like we don't want to lose this talent to other countries. So
Mhm.
it's going to be, it's going to be, I think it's going to be case by case. It's going to be a fight that's going to be happen case by case. So that's what I believe. And again, I want to emphasize that um, I don't want your audience or anyone to
Mhm.
to just panic. Call
No,
me, call me before you do.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Guys, if you're confused at all, please directly give Ralph a call. Maybe he's going to help you with a detailed consultation. He might definitely going to help you. He will definitely going to be helping you with your cases and with your questions. Here are his details. If you want to give him a call, you can give him a call on this number, 240-898-2288. Again like to repeat it, 240-898-2288. You can also email him. His email ID is ralph at antonioli lawfirm.com, and you can also visit his website, which is www.antoniolilawfirm.com. All right. So now, Ralph, we already have started getting questions. I see
yes,
people posting their questions. Let me quickly say hi to them. Hi, Kavita, Arjun. Then we have one question from LinkedIn. The name is not mentioned. It says LinkedIn user. And then we have from Paveen. So, guys, okay, again, the LinkedIn user has posted a lot of questions. We are definitely going to take them, but let me quickly start with my questions. Ralph, also, if you can please tell about what are the key differences between O-1A and O-1B visa categories, and how do the eligibility criteria vary between them?
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So before I explain the difference um, between O1A and O1B, I want to give your audience a little bit of history.
Mhm.
So the O1 category was created by the United States Congress in 1990. Um, this was in response to a high volume of cases where people had, for lack of a better word, or for this particular purpose, extraordinary abilities in particular areas. Before the O1 category was created, most of these people came to the United States, or most of these professionals came to the United States on H-1B visas. But as we're going to discuss, in this in our time together, the H-1B has a lot of limitations that the O-1 visa does not. So, this was created so that people can have more flexibility in working in the US and, potentially be here without a time limit. Because as you know, the H-1B category only allows for someone to be in the United States for 6 years. So, in direct response to your question, the O1 category is divided into two separate subcategories, if you will. The O1A, this category applies for individuals that have extraordinary abilities in the sciences, education, business, or athletics. On the other hand, O1Bs are for people who have extraordinary ability or have achieved an extraordinary achievement level in the arts, motion pictures, or the television industry. Um, Both are similar; they're not the same, but that's basically the difference between the O1A and O1B. So O1B is for what I call the SEBA categories, which is um, science, uh, education, business, and athletics. O1B is mostly for the entertainment industry. So it's for artists, which we're going to talk about what art is a little bit later. and then people in the motion picture and television industries. So yes, those are the main categories. Again, like I explained a little bit at the beginning, the O1 category is basically a criterion by criterion type of visa. So depending on whether you are pursuing a visa based on um, science, education, business, arts, or uh, athletics, or arts, motion picture, or television industry, um, then you basically the first step is to determine what what field you fall into. So let's say for someone in the IT industry, and I see one of the questions in the chat here asking about IT. IT would typically fall under sciences. So
Mm-hmm.
that will be an O1A. Okay. Um, we can, and if someone works, for example, in TV production, that will be an O1B. So yeah, that's basically the difference between the two. Uh, at the, I mean, both are O1 visas, but it's this when for filing purposes is when you sort of focus on whether it's an O1A or an O1B, but for general purposes, it's just an O1. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much for clarifying and answering the
Excuse me.
question, Ralph. I think just so they can simplify the fields and they can make they can differentiate between the fields, so they made these categories O1A and O1B, right?
That is correct.
Correct.
So
Mhm.
basically, based on the field, uh, based on the endeavor of the person or the field that the person works, is when it is determined if the person is an O1A or an O1B. But um, again, this only comes into play when you put together your petition. Um, then once the case is approved, uh, as I recall, sometimes the visa only says O1. So this only comes into play when you are actually filing your petition with USCIS. You know,
Mhm, mhm. But is the process also the same, or does the process also varies? I mean, for
uh,
O1A and O1B.
what do you mean by process? Well, I mean, um, the criteria for an O1A and an O1B are very similar. They're not
Hmm.
identical. They're similar.
Okay.
Um, but when it comes to processing, when filing, that's
Yeah.
identical. That's identical. I mean,
Okay.
so usually how it works is, you put together a pretty decent O1 petition package. You file that with USCIS. Once, one of two things happen. The case is either approved or USCIS issues a request for evidence, asking the petitioner in this case to provide additional information to,
Hmm.
usually because they're not satisfied with certain criteria that we explain or basically spell out in the petition.
Hmm.
Um, I say two options because sometimes people think, well, is it going to be denied on the get-go? That's pretty rare. I mean, unless it's a really bad case, cases don't usually get denied outright. I mean, usually it's either on straight approval or an RFE. And but I mean, filing with USCIS is identical for both.
All right. Thank you so much, Ralph, for clearing that. And thank you so much for the answer. And Ralph, as you can also see, there are a lot of questions here from our viewers, and people are also, having a conversation and chatting while listening to you on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. So yes, I think we can also share the screen so that Ralph can also see what's going on the social media. But if you allow, I would like to take the questions from the viewers, if that's fine for you.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Let me start with Lynn because I think this LinkedIn user who posted its comment is Lynn. And Lynn wants to know, can you explain what the O1 visa is? I think Yes, if you can see that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, like I explained at the beginning, but I'm happy to. The O-1 visa is a visa that is designed for people who have, and this is a word of art, extraordinary abilities or achievements in specific fields. So, like we just spoke, the O-1A is those for those individuals in the sciences, education, business, and athletics. And the O-1B is for individuals in the arts, motion picture, or television industry. So I
right.
think to better answer that question, I will probably give you an overview of what people need to show so that you are qualified for an extraordinary ability. And this goes to my earlier comment that you don't have to be a superstar. You basically need a good story and a good lawyer. So, for example, let's start with the O-1A. For the O-1A, you have to show that the person is a extraordinary abilities in either the sciences, education, business, and athletics. Okay, so how you do this? The easiest way to do this is if someone has a international recognized award. So, for example, let's say somebody won a Nobel Prize. Okay, um, this is all they have to show. That's it.
Mm.
An internationally recognized award. I mean, this again, as you can imagine,
Hmm.
this is usually not the norm. So, for those people who have not earned a Nobel Prize or an internationally recognized award like a Nobel Prize, we move into the second way, which is the most common way to show that someone is considered an extraordinary ability in either the sciences, education, um, business, and athletics. So you have to. There is 8 criteria that you can possibly use to meet the O-1 in the O-1A. So you can either show again. I'm gonna give you 8 criteria. All the person needs to meet is 3 of them. Okay. The first one is receipt of a national or internationally recognized prize or award for excellence. This is any other award that doesn't fall into the category of a Nobel Prize or something of that stature. Um, so you can argue that you receive an award, a local award, and then you argue that your contributions were critical for this award to be issued, and again, it's you can show this. The second way you can show that you're an extraordinary ability is membership in associations requiring outstanding achievements. These are pretty mouthful, but basically it's associations that sometimes the most common one is like a fellowship. So if you're a fellow in an institute, all you have to show is that for you to become a fellow, you had to meet certain criteria in that organization. It's not just, it's you have to contrast that with, for example, a what they call here a pay to play. So like you pay and you become a member. That probably is not going to fly. It has to be some type of organization where you became a member because of what you did. Um, the third category is referred to as published materials about the individual in professional or major trade publications. This is, interviews, um, you know, articles in magazines in the person's field that, speak about the person being extraordinary, being, above and beyond the common ground. Um, Then the fourth is participation as a judge in the work of others in the same or similar field. So in this case, if you were invited to judge a competition in your field, let's say in robotics, for example, and if you were invited because of who you are or because of your credentials, that's probably going to meet the. Then this is the next criterion is probably a favorite in the IT industry, which is original contributions of major significance in the field.
Mm-hmm.
As you can imagine, this is pretty broad. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier about you telling your story. What I always often tell clients when I first meet with them is, okay, tell me why you're better than everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and that starts the conversation. Excuse me. So the original contributions could be, this is pretty broad, so we can, you tell me why you're good, and then we work from that. Um, excuse me. The next category is authorship in scholarly articles in professional journals or other major media. This is, for example, things that the person has worked on. For example, if you go to the easiest way to prove this is go to Google Scholar and put your name in there. Um, and let's say you've written 10 articles, and again, it's criterion by criterion. So you start by saying, yes, I've written certain articles, and then you start sort of breaking out by article, saying, okay, I wrote this article. This article was cited 100 times. This is um, then the seventh, and this is usually used by a lot of people who, for example, are self-employed. We're going to talk about how you need a employer petitioner to file for you to secure an O-1 and the workarounds. But
Mm-hmm.
this particular criteria is defined as employment in critical or essential capacity for organization with a distinguished reputation. So basically, this, you just show that you work with organizations that have, a great reputation. So, for example, if you work for someone like Apple, or if you work for someone like Tesla, or if you work for someone like Microsoft, um, excuse me, um, that's how you would show this. And then the eighth one is pretty straightforward. It says you show that you are a person of extraordinary ability by showing that you commanded a high salary or other remuneration for your services. So
Mm-hmm.
this is basically you show that you received a really high salary based on, you know, a high salary for what you did, and that would qualify you for an O-1. Again, I read 8 criteria. You have to show that you meet at least 3 of them to be qualified for an O-1.
Mm-hmm.
And the 8 category that I read are for O1A, which is for, again, it's for sciences, which would include IT and anything related to, um, for example, AI or robotics or things of that nature. Um, for the O1B, which is for arts, motion picture, and television industry, the 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 initial criteria is the same. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if the person received like an Oscar or an Emmy award or a Grammy,
Mm-hmm.
that's enough for the person to meet the O1B. Um, Again, this is not always the case. So again, you go into um, the regulations provide 6. It's not 8 like O1A. It's only 6 for O1B. So again, that you have to meet 3 out of 6. So you have to perform in a lead or starring participant in productions or event with distinguished reputations. Basically, you have to have been a critical part of a production or a television show. Um, then you have to receive national or international recognition for your performances, or work has been published about you regarding
Right.
your performances. Um, you can also show that, the productions or, movie or series, now that streaming services are really popular.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to show that, it was successful. So, you will present press articles or critics reviews and things like that. Um, And then you will also show recognitions from other organizations saying, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this guy was, this guy was out of this world and he was amazing in what he did. Um, and then again, you have the high salary, which, if, again, this is case by case basis. So I hope, um, what I do want to highlight though is that for extraordinary abilities in science, education, business, and athletics means a level of expertise. And I'm reading from the regulations because this is, like I said at the beginning, a lot of these are words of art. So if you basically put together a good story and work with a competent lawyer, you're going to be able to meet these criteria. So for science, education, business, and athletics, which is an O-1A, as we discussed, you have to show that the person is in a small percentage who have risen to the very top of the field of endeavor. So this is, creativity comes into play here. You have
Mm-hmm.
to show, and I'm going to talk about this, when we address the best practices and best approaches on how to meet these criteria. We're going to talk about that, but basically, when it comes to science, education, business, or athletics, you have to show that the person is, I don't know, I would say in the top 5%, top 1% um, of what they do. Um, this shouldn't be intimidating for people because, as I'm going to speak about it later, um, the key is to narrow down the field as much as we can, because the more narrow a particular field is, the less people that are probably going to be in the top level. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what I mean by that is we have to narrow down. If we say he is an extraordinary ability in the field of IT, you can imagine there's going to be thousands, if not millions, of people who are going to be extraordinary. But if we say he's an extraordinary ability in IT, particularly X, Y, and Z, then the field becomes extremely small. Um, so again, this is a case by case basis. You have to show that you're on top of your endeavor, whatever that may be. Um, and again, I mean, a lot of these regulatory schemes may seem maybe intimidating, but
Mm-hmm.
again, I want to emphasize that working with competent lawyer and doing your homework goes a long way. Putting together a good story and supporting documents with as much as you can. Basically, present a story to the person so they look and they are. I always say that the first 10 minutes of the person looking at your case are the more critical. Um, if you can convince that person within 10 minutes that you are on top of what you do,
Right.
uh, you have won your case. So, yeah, I mean that's basically. I mean it's kind of a long answer, but um, it's very case by case basis. My job here today is to basically give your audience a sort of like a 10,000 feet picture of what the O-1 category
Right.
is like, and that it's just not for the top, just for superstars. If you
Mm-hmm.
present a really good story, you can definitely meet the O-1 criteria.
Great. Thank you so much, Ralph, for that detailed answer. Thank you so much. And I'm sure it did help Lynn. I think it must have helped him a lot. But he also has a follow up. He has posted another question and he says, did Elon Musk use the O-1 visa initially? Can you give some examples of of someone who used O-1 visa? How does it apply to tech workers, artists, athletes? How about the spouses and children's? I think then because you were talking about people working in the entertainment field and these sports athletes, then I think majorly anybody who is because now I think Lynn is asking examples. So anybody and any artist who's traveling abroad for any project or any movie or any film, I think they must be using the O-1B visa, right, Ralph? And if you have some examples and if you can answer
Yeah, I
some.
mean, I think this is a two-part question, or maybe a three-part question. Um, First off, I don't know if Elon Musk ever used the O1. I do know that Albert Einstein was in O1 at some point, even though, even though I'm gonna go back because the O1 didn't exist until 1990. He did an EB1, which is we're going to talk about that later, which
Mhm.
is where the O1 sort of got its. Um, I've done about, I would say, 100 plus O1s. Most of the O1s that I've done were for business people. So in
Mhm.
the case of business people, what you focus a lot on the reference letters, which is how you show that the person, has influenced the field. Um, like I said, you show that the person um, had original contributions of, I also work with artists, particularly in the television industry. I work with photographers that worked in the television industry. I work with educators.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, and I've also done P1 visas, which is not part of this conversation, but those are for athletes. You can also meet the you can either for athletes you can do O1s or P1s, but I mean, since we're just focusing on O1s here, um, tech workers usually, like I said, like I alluded to earlier, they would meet the in the sciences. So again, this is I see a lot of questions here saying, "Well, I'm a researcher, for example," or I don't know if my resume um, uh, will be enough to meet the O1. Like I said, every case must be looked at with a microscope, if you will. Just by looking at a resume is probably not even 10% of what I need to determine whether the person would qualify for an O1. But yeah, I mean, it's a case by case situation. I mean, there are other categories, but the O1 is something that is out there and that has its advantages. Um, but what I would recommend someone wanting to explore the O1 is to get in touch with me, and because I don't think we don't have enough time to go case by case. Um, all I can say is that unless you have one of those internationally recognized awards, you start looking at the 8 or 6 other criteria and see how you can meet them. Creativity comes into work. Basically, what you do is you sell yourself to USCIS, and that's where advocacy comes in.
Mhm.
Um, so, I mean, that's really what I can offer. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if Elon Musk was ever an O1. Um, Maybe I don't know. Um, but now, when it comes to, like I said, tech workers, the
Mhm.
O1, I'm gonna be honest, the O1 is not a favorite category. It's out there, and I encourage people to explore that, especially because the H1B and L1 category are going to be heavily scrutinized. Um, but again, it's a case by case situation. Just because you think your resume is weak is not an impediment for you to, I mean, schedule an appointment. Let's talk about how we can strengthen your, um, for example, if something in your field requires you to be a fellow, how long does it take to be a fellow? Um, do your research, do your homework. Um, One of the criteria is to be a part of an organization that requires excellence. All right. How do you, for example, there is a society of X. How do you join that X? How much time? I mean, think about it. You know, I mean, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So, um, I mean, there is no one silver bullet. The O-1 is one of those categories that lend itself to a lot of creativity. I have done an O-1 for someone, this was probably uh, the most challenging O-1 that I've ever done. It was for someone in the educational field. He The first thing when you Google this person's name was that he was expelled from a university for plagiarizing, and I was like, okay, good. So the USCIS officer is going to put this guy's name in Google, and that's the first thing that's going to come up. So, we got on pretty big RFE, but at the end of the day, I was able to meet the statutory requirements and take the attention away from what's out there to what actually is required. So, again, this goes back to don't worry too much about whether you're a superstar or not. Worry more on how you can meet at least three out of the eight or six criteria. Um, the other part of the question refers to spouses and children. So spouses and children of O-1 petitions, I'm sorry, O-1, of the O-1 visas qualify for what's called the O-3. Um, they are eligible to come to the United States for the same amount of time as the principal O-1 can. Unfortunately, as it happens with H-1B spouses, O-1 spouses cannot be employed. They can go to school, and that can eventually open another avenue. They can secure an H-1B, or that this is a different topic for another conversation. But unfortunately, the O-3 category doesn't allow for employment. Again, it allows for going to school, like if they want to pursue a master's or another degree, but unfortunately, it doesn't allow for employment, like the H-4 does in certain circumstances.
Right, I think O1 itself is such a vast topic that it won't be possible for us to complete everything in this episode, right, Ralph? It will take
That
us a
is
couple of
correct.
episodes to finish talking about O1.
Yeah, I
Um,
just realized we're almost at the top of the hour here, and I don't think we even scratched. I don't think we even spoke like 1% of what the O-1 is all about. So
it's important because we have to start from the basics, and then we are going to dive deep into
if
what O1 has. So we are definitely going to do more episodes, but for now, thank you so much for answering this question for Len. And he now has actually one more follow up. So
okay.
if you have some time, I would like to continue, because I think in 5 minutes we'll be completing an hour. But if you have some more time, I would like to take more questions from the
Yes,
viewers.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I do want to, if there's one thing I want people to take away from today's conversation, and I hope we're going to continue because there's so much to explore in the O-1, and there's always, I also want to be a resource for people who, let's be honest. I'm a very straightforward lawyer. I'm going to tell if I think your case is not going to work, I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to, uh, I'm not going to be here and tell you, yes, I'm going to make it happen. I'm not going to, um, I don't like to waste people's time, and I don't like when people waste my time. So I'm going to be pretty straight, but I
No
also
beating
want
around the
people,
bush, right onto the face, whether you do that.
exactly, because I want people to know that I'm a resource, especially as we're about to embark on a very potentially rocky 4 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I want people to take away that the O-1 category is probably the least category to be scrutinized because of the nature of it. And I want people to know that, business immigration, although it may have some pushback, is not, I don't think it's in the interest of those who are in power or who will be in power to mess with business immigration
Mhm.
because they ran on a business platform. And again, you have Elon Musk there that, like it or not, money moves the world, right? So he's going to have a lot of influence. And I mean, if he goes after business, which I highly doubt, um, he's going to be shooting himself in the foot. And I mean, what I do want people to drill this into their, memory is do your homework,
Mhm.
consider hiring a lawyer. Don't go at this alone, especially after January 20th. Um, Keep in mind that we have to convince USCIS. This is not
Mhm.
like any other. This is not like most other, like a lot of other business visas where you go to the consulate and they can deny you because they don't think your case is true. If you convince USCIS, you're 90% there, unless there is some other huge issue. Once we convince USCIS, the hardest part is done. So I want people to know that every case is an opportunity to tell a story and rely on a competent lawyer, hopefully me,
Mhm.
to tell that story. And, just don't be bogged down by whatever you may hear out there.
Mhm.
9 out of 10 is probably exaggerated and or written by someone who doesn't know anything about immigration. So keep that in mind.
Mhm. That's a great advice. Thank you so much for that, Ralph. Now, again, there are two more questions actually posted by Lynn, so I would like to take them too. So he says there are many companies that are being pressured to invest and open R&D factories in the US. Question is whether the workers hired are going to be on business visa from abroad and or foreign students switching from student visas to working visas. um, then the second part to the question is also how many this will be affected, and then the second part of this question says also regarding for foreign investors looking to open franchise businesses in the US, and then also immigrate to manage the business in the US, what should they be looking for? Let's take one by one, maybe this one first.
Okay. Yeah. So I think since this is an O-1 conversation, companies, the current administration has put a lot of input in STEM fields. This is what I mentioned earlier that, President Trump, or yeah, soon to be again, President Trump said that he's going to give a green card to everyone who's got a STEM degree. He's going to give a green card to anyone who basically staple a green card to their diploma. I don't know if that's going to happen, but most people who just graduated from uh, U.S. university, and I'm not sure if this goes into the second question, but I believe most, again, realistically speaking, most people who just finished their degree, they're probably not going to qualify for an O-1. They're likely going to be more, they're probably going to be the criteria of an H-1B or, yeah, well, probably H-1B is going to be the best way to go. Um, then from an investor standpoint, and again, this is probably a topic for another conversation, but when investors want to put some money in the United States, and again, this is again I hardly believe that the next administration is going to try to prevent investment from happening in the United States, mainly because they're going to have Elon Musk in there. Um, The E2 category is probably the best category for investors. This is also a heavily scrutinized category because it requires a lot of documents, a lot of granularity in offering, trying to get an approval from E2. An E2, the main characteristic of an E2 is to make sure that there is a treaty between the United States and that person's country of birth or country of nationality, so that there can be some sort of an investment in the United States based on that treaty. Again, this is something for a topic for a different day, but I don't think the O1 category is going to be a favorite one for students. Those students who are in OPT or STEM OPT, they're likely going to go into the H1B lottery. So again, which yet another topic for another time. What was the second question? If you remind me, reminding me of the second question.
Right. He said that also regarding foreign investors looking to open franchise businesses in the US and then also immigrate to manage the business in the US, what should they be looking for?
Yes, yes. So this is again, this goes back to what I just said at the end of my last answer. For this type of scenario, an E2 is probably going to be the best way to go.
Okay.
In the case of a franchise, you're not really starting a new business. Well, because what you're doing is you're basically growing a brand that already exists, right? So you're buying the franchise. So all you're going to have to show is that you put some, when it comes to investment, you have to show that you put some money at risk, that you invested. Again, this is a E2 conversation. This has nothing to do with O1, but I mean, for a franchisee, I think the E2 category is probably the best way to go. Again, this is, I mean, like I said, we didn't even start talking about a lot of details in the O1. So if I start talking about another category, it's just going to confuse people. So, yeah, for franchisees, I would think the E2 category is the I don't want to say easiest, but it's the best way to go about trying to invest. And the E2 category allows the main investors to hire people of their own nationality to work with them. So that's a big advantage of the E2. But again, this is an O1 conversation, so I don't want to spend too much time on the E2. I hope that answers the question.
Right, it does. And I hope so that, Lynn, you have got your answer. Thank you so much. If you have another follow-up, please continue posting them in the comments. Even if we don't have time to take them up in this session, we are going to do another session with Ralph very soon. So maybe we can take them in another episode, or maybe we can directly reach out um, to Ralph and ask for an answer, or maybe you can directly reach out to Ralph. If you want a direct consultation or are looking for an answer. And here are his details. You can give him a call on this number, which is 240-898. 2288. I would like to repeat it, 240-898-2288. You can also email him. His email ID is ralph at antoniolilawfirm.com. And also you can also visit his website, which is www.antoniolilawfirm.com. Thank you so much for that. And Ralph, I would like to take one more question. This question is actually posted by Madhvi in the comment section on YouTube. And she says, I am a researcher with a few published papers, but I haven't still received a lot of media attention or publication or public recognition. Am I eligible for O1 visa?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier. You have, if you're a researcher and you've published, if we can show that's just one criterion. We have to show at least three. So if you don't, I mean, if you haven't, if you haven't received a lot of press attention, then we're going to have to look at the other criteria. So, for example, you can get letters of recommendations from people saying that you have provided significant contributions to the field. That's how you meet that criteria. Um, you can show, um, again, you have eight criteria to choose from, and we can explore each one. For example, membership in association. Maybe you're a member of like a sorority or a fraternity or some type of organization that requires you to be somewhat an accomplished professional. I mean, that may qualify. If I mean, again, do your homework, and maybe once you appeared as a judge in a competition. Um, it doesn't have to be a judge for something that was televised. It can be anything, and then like I said earlier, there are many ways to approach this. So just because you only have one thing doesn't mean you're not going to meet it. I mean, we have 8 other options or 7 other options, if you will, to
Right.
look at that we can meet. So this is the great thing about the O-1. It lends itself to creativity. So, and like I said earlier, I said, our job and my job as a lawyer is to tell the USCIS officer to look at the case, and in 10 minutes of looking at what we presented, the guy can say, I'm going to approve this. So um, at the end of the day, it's case by case basis. Um, and I encourage people to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to speak with them about whether they think they could meet. If again, I encourage people to either reach out to me or um, I think that's probably the best way to go. I mean, if we're going to be talking about everyone's individual case, we're going to be here for 2 weeks, right? So um, I think it's just because you have one thing, don't get bogged down on that. I mean, there are other options. There are 7 other criteria, and each one is at play. Anything goes. I mean, um, yeah. So I think, and if you're a researcher, there's also other options. There is something called a J1 researcher that you can um, apply for. The company, I'm gonna just do this briefly because again, this is a J1 visa, but it's a J1 visa that is not usually utilized, but it's for a researcher. People believe that the company has to be a research company, and that's not true. Um, it can be any company as long as they create a research type job.
Right.
So yeah, I mean that's another wrinkle to this. So yeah, I mean, and ultimately, if you yeah, I mean, I think um, it's yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's a case by case situation. You don't want to you don't want to I mean, don't convince yourself that you don't have it before you talk to a lawyer.
That's true.
So
Don't come to a conclusion until you seek.
exactly. Yeah, and I think what they say here, don't sell yourself short. I mean, I'm sure if you look um, I mean, this is gonna sound maybe a little weird, but it's like a beauty contest. You know, you
Uh-huh.
have to you have to convince the judges, right?
Right.
So I mean, look at it that way. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's yeah, that's kind of maybe an odd concept, but that's what it is, and my
You
job
never know
is
what
to.
might work for you, right?
I'm sorry.
You might not know. You never know what might work for you.
No, and at the same time, exactly, and at the same time, this is such a subjective
Right.
process that you may get you may get a guy who's got like a cousin who does what you do. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, this guy, we're human after all. I mean,
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. So it'll be better, Madhvi, if you directly get in touch with the right attorney, and why not directly get in touch with Ralph if you're looking for an attorney. And then Ralph, also I would like to take one more question. This is actually from Kavita, and Kavita says, I have heard a lot about O-1 visa being for people with extraordinary ability, but I'm not sure what that really means. Could you explain in more detail how USCIS defines extraordinary ability? I think we already have talked about this, and you already have explained.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm happy to give a quick overview again so they understand.
Please. Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, so like I said, well, USCIS doesn't really define extraordinary ability, the regulations do. All we have to do is show to USCIS that you actually meet the definition. So, for example, if you are in the field of arts, you have to show that your extraordinary ability means distinction. What does that mean? Distinction means a high level of achievement in the field evidenced by a degree of skill and recognition substantially above what's ordinarily encountered in the field. What does that mean again? It means that you have to narrow your endeavor so much that when you explain it to them, I am an IT expert who specializes in A, B, and C. And there
Mm-hmm.
are only like three people in the world who do A, B, and three. And I'm one of them. You know what I mean? That's how you do it. If you say I'm a expert in IT, how
Right.
many people are experts in IT? Millions, right?
Right.
So, but if you, the secret, I mean, not a secret, but it's, you have to narrow down what you do. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, in the case of, um, like my photographer, for example, that I work with, he was he was a photographer for Apple, and he would take pictures, you know, all those pictures that would go on billboards.
Mm-hmm.
So we narrowed down. He's like, okay, I have an expertise in photography. If you just stop there, you're going to have millions of people who are photographers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you say specializing in taking, you know, in products that have to do with cell phone technology, or that narrows down the field. So at the end of the day, is what I tell people is tell me what your superpower is, and then we're going to expand on that. So don't tell me I'm good at IT, because there's 10 million people who are good at IT too. Um, we have to start with, okay, we start with IT, and then we start going down the list and see, okay, what type of IT do you do that not everybody else does? So that, I think that that's the right approach. If you're looking at sciences, the regulation says, and I think I touched upon this earlier, and this applies specifically to people in the sciences, education, business, and athletics, where IT will fall in. And this is, you have to show a level of expertise that you are on a small percentage that have risen to the top of that field.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that basically encapsulates what I just said about, you know, narrowing down as much as you can what you do. Um, don't tell me I'm great at in IT, because that's a loser argument. Tell me I'm great in IT at doing ABC, because
Mm-hmm.
there's only like five people who do that, and I'm one of them. You know what I mean? That's the position you want to be in. So
Right.
that's what they look at. And um, when UCIS uses a very broad definition of the word endeavor, which is basically what you do. Okay, so like
Mm-hmm.
your field, you can basically, if you can articulate something that makes a little bit of sense, that's it. You go with that. Um,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be something that is widely recognized. No,
Mhm.
you do you. You know what I mean? So, and you tell me what you do, and then we're going to craft your field based on that. Of course, we're going to start with okay, a science, and then we expand on. So that's basically what they look at when they try to see if a person meets extraordinary ability definition. That's what it is.
Right. Thank you so much again for your answer, for that detailed answer, I should say. Ralph and Kavita, thank you so much for posting your question in the comments below. I hope you have got the answer. In case you're looking for anything else, and if you're looking to get an answer to maybe another follow up of yours, please continue posting them in the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to take them. And yeah, I think that's it. We still have one more question from Arjun. If that's okay for you, Ralph, I would like to take this as
Yes,
well.
absolutely. I was looking, if you don't mind.
Uh-huh.
This person kind of caught my attention. I think it's Bhavin in the chat. I can
Okay, let's take Bhavin's question, right?
I
How
can
long?
tackle that pretty quickly because it says how long I can stay in the United States on an O-1 visa, and can my family members accompany on an O-1 visa? The second part I already addressed, but I'm happy to do it again. Um, one of the great pros of the O-1 visa is that there is no time limit, meaning the first the first period of employment is usually 3 years. So
Mhm.
your first I guess period, you can stay in the United States for 3 years on your initial entry. Then you can extend that in 1 year increments indefinitely. This is definitely an advantage when comparing to an H-1B, for example, where the H-1B you're limited to 6 years. Um, and the O-1, you can extend your O-1 status indefinitely. Of course, you have to show, every time you extend this, you have to show that you continue to be a person of extraordinary abilities. But but there is no limit as to how long you can stay in the United States, as long as you continue to demonstrate that you meet the criteria for an O-1 petition.
Mm.
And when it comes to family members, like I said earlier, yes, they also benefit from the same period of stay as the principal O-1. The visa for family members is the O-3.
Mhm.
Like I said earlier, they are allowed to go to schools, university in this category. Unfortunately, these categories is not allowed for employment though. But if we're going to go really granular about this, if you pursue some kind of degree in the United States, you can potentially qualify for other categories like an H-1B or.
Mhm.
So I mean, again, this is a very large topic, and we I think I just wanted to address that because I wanted your audience to see how how advantageous will be to pursue an O-1 as opposed to an H-1.
Mhm.
Because for example, and another big difference will be you can do an O-1 on any time,
Right.
whereas the H-1B you are subject to the lottery, right? So
Mm.
yeah,
Right.
so yeah.
Okay, Bhavin, I hope you have got the answer. Thank you so much for your question. And I think, okay, that's it then. Thank you so much, Ralph, for those amazing answers, for those insightful, detailed answer. It was lovely having you on the show. And, I don't think so. We had so many questions actually prepared for this show. But then I was only able to take, I think, one or two. And then mostly all of them were from the viewers. So I most definitely think we need to have an episode two of the same topic so that we can get into more questions and we can cover more details about O1 visa. And like I said, I think it is a very vast topic, and we will need to have more and more episodes to talk about this, right? So that people can know better and know in detail what exactly O1 visa stands for, and how it actually helps, especially the extraordinary people, right? So thank you so much for being here. And guys, if you want to get in touch with Ralph, I would again like to repeat the details which are displayed on screen. You can give him a call on his number, which is 240-898-2288. His email is ralph at antoniolilawfirm.com. And then his website, you can also visit his website, which is www.antoniolilawfirm.com. Thank you so much, Ralph, again for being here. I hope you enjoyed the first episode with us.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to doing another one, especially we were going to talk about, and I want your audience to stay tuned. We're going to talk about IPOs and things of that nature that may be of interest to people, and how to avoid, rejections, and how to put together a very strong O1 petition. So looking forward to
Right. I
how.
think this was just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yes.
So we have a lot to cover. So we definitely will be doing the shows with you on a regular basis now that, you have been here for the first episode. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ralph.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the time.
Yes, I'm definitely going to come back to you and check your availability for the second episode. And thank you so much for being here for the first one. And guys, please make sure that whatever questions that you have regarding O1 visa, to drop them in the comments below, so that when Ralph will be back for his second episode, we are going to take these questions and we are going to get an answer from him. But for now, we'll have to take your leave. Thank you so much. Stay tuned with us. Our daily immigration dose is going to is going to come at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure that you also are live, and you're also tuning in while the program goes on. But for now, thank you so much for participating in this webinar, and also for posting your comments. For now, I will have to take your leave, and I think so will Ralph. So we'll see you very soon. Thank you so much. You guys take care, and
Thank you.
don't forget to subscribe to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm Rajni Bharara. You take care and have a happy day ahead.